Hey, peace to the family. This is Dr. Ikemba Ojore of We Charge Colonialism, and welcome to another session of the Blueprint for Black Power study, in which I go through Dr. Amos N. Wilson's book, The Blueprint for Black Power, so to just examine and dissect his book through different sections. And so we're going from front to the back in this book. I want to appreciate anybody that's viewing this podcast, this study session. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Make sure you hit that like button and you share it with others so they can be a part of this dialogue. So what I do, this is a very short session. I'm just going to read a paragraph or two paragraphs. Today I'll read a couple of paragraphs and just give an analysis of it. If you want to put some comments in the chat, you can. And then later on, there'll be a point that we should have a session outside of these particular these talks or these short talks and talk about some building, how we can implement and put a lot of these theories into practice. So I'm gonna get right to it. Like I said, this is going to be short. Still on page 1. I'm starting from the second paragraph. So I'll get into a couple of paragraphs and discuss. So it is not our purpose here to untangle the web of power definitions. It is not necessary for us to do so. However, a review of a number of definitions and of several forms of power will provide an intuitive understanding of its essential meaning, which is all that is necessary to our mission. So in that paragraph, it kind of builds on the first paragraph in which I talked about last time in regards to the purpose of this chapter, which is to like really delve into these different forms of power and essentially just like understanding what power is and what's its purpose. Like it's all about like what us having an understanding of power and the different forms of power and whether we're utilizing it or not. And so when we think about power, the ultimate aim of power or exerting power is to bring about a particular objective or goal. And so the exercise of this power is to produce something or is to prevent something from happening. So that's something to keep in mind. Just going into the next paragraph and build on that a little bit. He says, power comes with being, with interactive existence, with being alive. It is the essence of life and the motive forces of growth and development and of the adaptability of living things to environmental changes and demands. Power refers to the ability to do, the ability to be, the ability to prevail. Beingness and aliveness originate with power. To be powerless is to be willless, impotent and lifeless, without effect or influence. To be nothing of no account. Thus, we concur with Rollo May when he contends that power is essential for all living things. Man, in particular, cast on this barren crust of earth eons ago with the hope and the requirement that he survive, find he must use his powers and confront opposing forces at every point of his struggle with the earth and with his fellows. And so, that I appreciate that quote that he put in there. I'll get into that. But understand, like power, we all exercise power throughout our lives, no matter what. Getting up in the morning, putting on our clothes, brushing our teeth, getting ready for the day when we're walking, picking up this book. All of that is exerting power. Now, the thing is when we're using this power, are we using it to attain goals and objectives for ourselves, or are we using our power in the service of other people? And that's an important thing that is going to be discussed throughout this book when he's talking about power. So in this chapter, he's talking about the different forms of power and how power can be used against us and how we need to recognize it, but also how we can use those different methods of power to attain our own goals and objectives. Now, what we have is a power struggle and relationship that's happening. He says right here, in quoting this person, quoting Rolly May, says at every point in his struggle with the earth, he finds he must use his powers and confront opposing forces at every point in his struggle with the earth and with his fellows. So, right there, he's talking about a power struggle that exists between not just the environment, but also with other people. And so right now, there's a relationship that African people have in the world over with the European power structure, where there's a struggle for power that exists. Now, the power that we are exerting or exercising, uh, that power is being used in the service of white domination. I mean, think about how we get up and go to work and working for other, for other people to help build this colonial system. A lot of our resources is going to other people. We're left with some resources to be able to survive within this environment, but ultimately, it's building the wealth of those people who have colonized African people for the last 500, 600 years. And so we're looking to overturn that relationship. So the other thing in regards to just one last thing, a point I want to make, said to be powerless is to be willless, impotent, and lifeless, without effect or influence, to be nothing of no account. Right? Again, it's to exert power or to exercise power, that's life, that's living. And so, are we living for ourselves or are we living for someone else? This is something that we need to ask ourselves individually and as a collective, as a people, as African people, are we living for ourselves or living for other people? And we also have to recognize we can't let our ego get in the way and recognize that there are certain things that we're unable to do under this colonial system unless we get organized. I want to use Kyrie Irving and Kanye West as an example, and I'll just leave it here. I want to appreciate everybody too that has tuned in. Make sure you like and share this to other people. But Kanye West and Kyrie Irving, I want to use them as an example of the lack of power that we have under this system. Uh, they have made some comments, and there were some people who are in positions of power who didn't like what they said. Kanye West and Kyrie Irving thought that they could say what they felt about certain forces in this system and get away with it because they had attained a certain amount of wealth or riches, I should say, within the system. So they thought money was power. They thought because they had a lot of money and which it is, relatively speaking, they did have some power. But what they found out that there's forces within this system that is more powerful than them, and so they letting their ego get in the way and trying to express themselves. Kyrie Irving, when he was in an interview, he said, "Hey, I posted it, and that's it." As if, "Hey, there's nothing y'all can do about it. It's my post. I'm not taking it down. That's what it is." But later on, those forces, those forces that are able to exercise power within the system said, "Hey, you know what? You're going to take that down." And you know what else you're going to do, Kyrie Irving and Kanye West? Y'all both going to apologize. Both of those people kneeled and apologized. How many other people we see apologize when they came out against certain forces within the system, right? And they showed them that you don't have any power. And the thing that these people, the problem that the Kyrie Irvings, who else, the Kanye Wests and Nick Cannon, was it Nick Cannon? Yeah, these people, the problem that they have is they're not linked to any organization. They're not organized. These people that they're going up against are highly organized, very organized. And so, if we'll see what NBA players are going to do in regards to supporting Kanye West, because they do have power if they organize that power and use it. If they say, "Hey, we're not going to play any more basketball games unless y'all let Kyrie Irving back in the NBA, and he doesn't have to do any of these things that y'all want him to do." Like, they can show the force and the power that they have by doing something, by being organized. But if it becomes individualistic and it's like, "Hey, I got kids to feed," so forth, that's Kyrie's problem. That's going to be an example, sort of represents a microcosm of what we see within our community and why we lack power, why other people can come into the Black community and be able to exploit it and to oppress it. So, like I said, this wasn't going to be a long, I want to keep these short, but I want to do it as much as possible. If not daily, at least every other day, we get into this book and go through the Blueprint for Black Power. And so if you don't have this book, make sure you purchase it and have it on your shelf so you can be a part of this dialogue and we can develop the methods and strategies to be able to attain power individually and collectively as a people. So I want to appreciate everybody that came and tuned in. And make sure you subscribe to We Charge Colonialism and check out the next couple of podcasts that we have coming up. This Friday, we have Frank And then me, Frank, and Natasha will be on this Saturday with our early morning podcast at 10 a.m. Eastern time. So again, appreciate y'all. Till next time, peace.